Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film my December book haul. The little clip in the beginning was the puzzle that Britta gifted me for Christmas. Here's the box right here. It's this lovely watercolor of the Amsterdam Canal, which evidently Britta lived in the scene, not in this particular scene, but along this canal when she lived in Amsterdam. So I'm thrilled about it, and I started the puzzle last night, and I'm very excited to be working on a puzzle during my Christmas break. The other non-bookish thing that I received, well, it is bookish, but it's not a book, that I received for Christmas is this lovely new mug that says bookmarks are for quitters. And it's a nice large size mug, so it's perfect for morning tea. I got that from my cousin, so love that. So just wanted to get those things knocked out before we get into the books. Some of these books I bought myself before Christmas, and then the rest are gifts, so I will let you know where they came from. The first two books are books that I bought myself, and the first one you will have seen in my Book Naturalist video for our 2022 reading plans. This is Two Trees Make a Forest by Jessica J. Lee. This is a nature writing memoir that we will be reading next year for Book Naturalist. I have been wanting to read this book for a long time. It's about a woman who goes back to Taiwan, where her ancestors came from, and discovers the natural landscape of that place and how it relates to her life. Looking forward to that. The other book I picked up for myself was totally because of a podcast, and that was the Book Riot podcast. Rebecca Shinsky talked about this book, Why We Can't Sleep, Women's New Midlife Crisis by Ada Calhoun. This is a book that's written for women who are middle-aged, me, who are dealing with a lot of not only changes in their health and their bodies, but in like sort of questioning where their lives are in terms of career, family, just generalize where they want the rest of their life to go. And I am certainly in that age range, and when I heard Rebecca talk about this book, I immediately went online and purchased it. So I plan to read this book very soon. It's nonfiction. It is, let's see how long it is. It is only like 225 pages long. So I'm expecting to be picking this up very early on in the new year. So that's it. Those are the books that I picked up for myself. The rest of these books are gifts in some way or other. These next three books are books that Doris sent to me very kindly. The first one is The City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston. This is a book that Doris loves, and she's been raving about it for years, and I have never read it. And so it's about a lost city in the Honduran rainforest, and about scientists who go on the quest to find this white city and what happens to them. I love sort of adventure nonfiction that takes place in tropical locations. I am a sucker for any kind of narrative like that. And Doris says that this is excellent narrative nonfiction. So very much looking forward to that one. And then she also sent me this copy of A Year in the Maine Woods by Bernd, Heinrich, and this will be the Book Naturalist Book Club's pick for January 2023. So we have to wait a while, but Doris found this one in a used bookstore and kindly picked up a copy for me as well as herself. And this is all about a naturalist who goes to the wilderness in Maine and lives for a year, as the title says. I'm really excited for this book, and kind of like, I don't know if I can wait a whole year, but I will wait a whole year. And then lastly, Doris sent me this illustrated on the Origin of Species, Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species, and this was adapted and illustrated by Sabina Radeva. And I mean, look at the end papers. First of all, the end papers are delightful, and then it's like sort of a graphic illustrated version of Darwin and Darwin's life and his theory on the origin of species, natural selection. I can't wait to pick this up. This may be the book that I pick up for New Year's Day and my first read in January. I'm pretty much sure that this is the book that I'm going to read for January 1 to start my reading year off. So thank you very much, Doris. Those are all excellent picks for me. Before I get into my Christmas haul, I would just say that my daughter gave this book to me. This was a book that she read for her last semester in college. She had a class. This was one of the books that she had to read for one of her classes. This is Abina and the Important Men, a Graphic History by Trevor, Getz, and Liz Clarke. And this is a graphic novel. It's basically a nonfiction history of a woman, Abina Mansa, who was wrongfully enslaved and then took her enslaver to court. So it is a color, full color graphic piece of nonfiction. And then once the graphic nonfiction piece of this is over, there's also like transcripts of interviews. There is other historical information, like a history section and then a discussion section for in the classroom. So I may not, read all of this, but I certainly will read the graphic portion of this nonfiction graphic history. And it sounds amazing. The court case happened in 1876, and I had never heard of this graphic history nonfiction until my daughter was assigned it for her class. So I'm excited to have that one on the shelves as well. Okay, these next books are books that I received for Christmas from my family, and they're all excellent picks. And this first one was from my daughter. This is The President and the Assassin, McKinley, Terror, and Empire at the Dawn of the American Century by Scott Miller. So this is a book for my presidential reading challenge. I am, my next president to read is McKinley. So this is a book that Katie picked up for me to read as I read about McKinley. And then also in that same vein, my parents gifted me President McKinley, Architect of the American Century by Robert W. Mary. This is a chunker presidential biography. So again, in the new year, I will be starting my read of President McKinley and finding out all about his life and presidency. And that would get me into the 20th century, finally. I tend to only read, I try to read, the goal is to read 4 presidents a year. Last year in 2021, I only read 2 because I got stuck on Grover Cleveland. So I'm hoping to do better in 2022 with this, but I mean, I have not set myself any particular timeline. I just want to read a few of these presidents a year, and I want to delve into it. Like if I find a president that's particularly interesting, I like to read more broadly, maybe not just a biography, but also some other histories about that time and place, because I find that that is a good way to round out my knowledge of that time period. And so these last 4 books are also Christmas presents from my parents. They gifted me Passing by Nella Larson. This is a classic piece of African-American literature. This was first published in, let us see, 19, I guess it doesn't say. This is the Penguin edition. This came out in 1929, the first time. So this is the new Penguin Classic edition, which I think has an absolutely gorgeous cover. I've heard nothing but rave reviews of Passing, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. Another classic, A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. This past year I read Howard's End by E.M. Forster and really enjoyed that book. To my own surprise, I enjoyed it very much, so I am interested to read this one. This is an interesting copy. This is Warbler Classics, which is not an imprint I've ever heard of. So the only thing that I am worried about is this print is very, very tiny. But, I still think that the inside, the story is going to be great. Another book you've heard me talk about on the Book Naturalist announcement video for 2022. This is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. This is the 40th anniversary edition in hardcover. Has lovely illustrations inside. So I cannot believe that I have not read I read only one Rachel Carson, and that was just back in November, and I cannot believe that I have not yet read Silent Spring. So very happy to be rectifying that in January. And then last but not least is The Yield by Tara June Winch, which you have all read and raved about, and I have been slow to get a copy, and I finally received this from my parents, and I'm very excited to read this. This is a novel, and it is by an Indigenous author from Australia, and I mean, I've just heard nothing but very good things about this book. So I am thrilled to finally have my own copy and to read it for myself and to see what I think of it. Also, love the cover on that one. So that is my Christmas book haul and all the books I received in the month of December. Thank you to everyone who gifted me things for Christmas and throughout the month. I mean, I just feel entirely blessed to have received all of these books in December. And I did also receive 2 gift cards for books that thankfully those books will be coming in January, and so January will also feature some book hauls from my Christmas book gift cards, but we will talk about those in January. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.